Nurses who has to ask the famous sexual history question, what was the best answer you got? Paramedic here. I once asked a 20-year-old female with abdominal pain. Me, are you sexually active? Her, yes. Me, any chance you're pregnant? Her, absolutely not. I could never be pregnancy. Me, not all birth control is 100% effective. Her, mine is. Me, what kind of birth control is it? Her, lesbianism. Navy hospital corpsman here. After my ship pulled into Cyprus for a 3-day Liberty port, I had a line about 10 people deep of sailors and Marines and medical looking to see the dock. The first 2 presented with the same discharge and swelling and stuff, turned out to be a rather nasty clap and chlamydia combo, and when I dove deeper I found out they went to the same brothel. A little deeper and found they even saw the same girl. So 4 people in, same deal. When the next one walked in all I asked, with raised eyebrows, Selena? Supposed lady's name, and with a subtle and ashamed confirmatory nod they sat on the table ready for the dreaded boar punch. 5/9 people I treated that day went to the same lady. She must have been covered in semen. I got a laugh out of hearing a young girl tell me she's not currently sexually active, because the last time she had sex was the day before. Are you sexually active? No, I'm just here talking to you. Looks down at crotch. Looks back up. No. A man goes into the doctor's office to get a physical. The doctor says, well, you need to stop masturbating. The man says, why? Because I'm trying to give you a physical. Not a nurse, but the best response I've heard to this question was from a quiet guy in my freshman college English class. Somehow our discussion on vaccines led to this topic, and he told a story about his doctor asking if he was sexually active. His perfect response was, bro, I'm not even socially active. When I was probably 11 or 12 years old, I had broken my foot in a way that needed a minor surgery, so my cute 20-something nurse was asking me the pre-questions with my dad. When she got to the personal part, she asked if I wanted my dad to leave the room. I said no because whatever. When she asked if I was sexually active, I turned to my dad and said in a loud whisper, I want her to think I'm cool. I had to go see a doctor for a movement disorder in high school, and in trying to narrow things down, he said, okay, now I'm going to ask you about your drug and alcohol use. Do you want your parent to leave the room? No-win scenario right there. Right. That shit should be discreet. Oh yeah, Dad, I told her I don't do drugs. Why did I want you to leave? It's a touchy subject for me, okay? I worked in a medical call center and had to survey patients taking certain drugs. We asked if they were sexually active. Company was worried about libido-inhibiting side effects. Best answer I heard was, yes, but don't tell my spouse. I hope he was joking about it, but that is quite funny. It's a pretty common joke here. My friend answered his doctor once by just saying, I go to an engineering school. The answer depends greatly on if your friend is a man or woman. Even a bearded lady could get a daily cream pie at an engineering school. From a female friend who went to an engineering school. The odds are good, but the goods are odd. She dated outside the school. My degree was in games design, and the only other girl in the class was proud of sleeping with a few guys in the class. They were the very worst idea of neckbeardy nerds. I really don't think it was something to be proud of. At my university the joke was, what is the best contraceptive in town? An engineering student's personality. As an engineering student. That's pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure I made a chart about that one day. Problem is, I can't categorize it. Is it demand without supply or supply without demand? The motto at our school was, we have tons of women, just not very many of them. Similar. One of my classmates was asking a 75-year-old woman with dementia about her occupation for a PT exam. Her response, I give blowjobs in my garage to afford my sweet ride. Minus the dementia, I hope that's me when I'm 75. When I was 13 I responded, yes, when the nurse asked me if I was sexually active. She then asked when was the last time I had sex, to which I uncomfortably answered that I have never had sex. I thought masturbation counted. I was in active labor, pushing a tiny human being from my body, when a well-meaning medical student asked me if I had any history of sexual activity. Maybe he was wondering if you were giving birth to the second coming of Jesus. A woman came in with inflammation of the vulva, and when I asked about her sexual history, she said, "Do dildos count?" When I was younger, I had a doctor tell me, "Self-love counts too." Not a nurse, but a former health historian for the largest blood collection organization. One of donors was an older lady, maybe early 70s. There were 10 sexual history questions in a row. In the middle of them, she blurts out, "Honey, I've been dried up for years. Nobody has been digging in this for a long time." Work at a children's hospital, so usually not that important since most of my patients are in diapers. We had a 14-year-old with multiple STDs. Thankfully, all could be treated with some antibiotics. When asking her sexual history, she couldn't remember all of them, but there were at least 9 partners. The weird part was her mom wanted us to talk about medical information outside the room so her precious angel wouldn't be corrupted with all the sex talk. We informed her that we already crossed that bridge. If she wasn't so afraid of her daughter hearing about sex, maybe she could have talked to her about how to protect herself from STDs. When my uncle got his 13-year-old girlfriend pregnant when he was 15, my grandmother's reply was, "I thought he would have learned about that from being on a farm." My wife works in a hospital. She told me a story about a patient that presented with constipation, 3 days, and rectal pain. An examination found he had a rotting cucumber up his ass, which he claimed no knowledge of. Turns out he was not lying. He had recently returned from an extended trip away from home during which he had contracted a venereal disease, which he had passed along to his wife following his return. Rather than confront him with his misdeeds, his wife decided to go straight to retribution. So she drugged his dinner one night, then administered the coup de concombre, so to speak. Of all the possible visuals that come to mind when I think of this story, the one that I enjoy most is the wife, at the store, picking out the cucumber. "Yeah, this is the one." Wife: "Excuse me, where are all your big cucumbers?" Shop assistant: "I'm sorry, miss, but there is no such thing as a big cucumber aisle here." Wife: "My husband cheated on me." Shop assistant: "Follow me." My favorite was this young guy, maybe in his 20s, comes in and on the form he circled the sexual history part, drew an arrow to the back. Then on the back it read, "It all began back in the 8th grade with Stacy." He continued on to fill half the page up with his sexual history. I'm pretty sure he did it only because he had to wait so long. I took care of a post-op patient who had stuck dried kidney beans up his urethra because they felt good when they swelled up. Could usually pee them out, but this time they got stuck. Had to have them surgically removed. Indeed, dried kidney beans are often home to spider eggs that hatch in around 16 hours when exposed to temperature around urethra temperature. The good point is the dozen of spiders would slowly eat the bean, making it easier to pass. Not a nurse, but I work in healthcare. I don't usually ask the sexual history question, but I have had to ask it a few times. The most memorable was a man who was older who had HIV, Hep B, and a slew of STDs. I didn't even ask his history, but he named off about a dozen people by name, and which ones gave him which STD. To top it all off, he said, "I'm homeless, I'm homosexual, and I have HIV. Plus I just moved here from Denver. I am homeless, I am gay, I have AIDS, and I'm new in town." When I was in nursing school, we had these questionnaire things we had to ask our patients for homework. Most of the questions were pretty simple and basic, like family medical history or what current medication they were taking, etc., 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 and it was designed to get us used to asking questions and to begin to develop rapport with the patient. Well, since this was my first year of nursing school, I was still felt little awkward asking the sex questions and was nervous when I came around to these questions when interviewing an 85-year-old man whose wife was sitting right next to him. The conversation went a little like this. Me: "So, I'm sure some of these next questions may be a bit personal, and if you are too uncomfortable answering them, you can just tell me and we can move on." Internal me: "Please be uncomfortable, oh please, oh please, oh please." Him: "Sure. Go ahead. You need to know all this stuff for your career. Ask away." Internal me: "Damn. Usually there were 5 or 6 questions that I would ask, but today I could only get past this one question." Me: "Okay, sir. Are you and your wife still sexually active?" Him: looks up at me, then the ceiling, then to his wife and says, "Sweetie, how would you describe our sex life?" Wife: Without missing a beat. Oh, probably that you jumped on a wild hog at the ripe age of 19 and are still hanging on for dear life. Then she leans closer to me and whispers, I try to buck him off every night but he keeps hanging on. Then she winks. I almost died of laughter. Best response ever. Ended up helping a high school wrestling team. While doing surveys during medical audits, I had to ask a kid, have you had more than one sexual partner? He responded, yeah, twice. Wait, you meant at the same time, right? I had to resist the urge to high five. Are you sexually active? No. Runs tests. You're pregnant. Why did you say you're not sexually active? What? I'm not active, I just lay there. You can't get pregnant unless you're active, right? Ada, I know this is also a joke people tell, but it really did happen. I was translating for a medical team that went to a favela in South America in '97. The girl was probably about 15, very poor, uneducated, and very upset. We find it funny because we know what it means, but the phrase, sexual activity, is a bit vague. She honestly understood it to refer to her activity level during intercourse. After we told her, we connected her to local resources. I don't know what happened to her after that. From my time as an army medic in Germany, circa 2003, had a guy report to sick call with personal filled out on his sick call slip. 99% of the time, this means STD or something wrong with the reproductive bits. I was the fortunate one to pull his chart for screening. I got him into the exam room, got him to verbalize exactly what personal reason he was in the aid station for. It was sores on his penis. Okay. I start prepping the culture swab, and continue getting the history. How long he had the sores, when he last had sex, any burning or irritation while urinating. A few days, never, and no. Wait, you haven't had sex? What about sexual contact, to include oral, anal, genital on genital? I'm a virgin. I've never been with anyone else. What the fuck are the sores from? I've been masturbating a bunch. How much? 8 times a day. Our PA ended up sending him back with a profile to his chain of command prohibiting masturbation more than once a day. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.